Hello YouTube, this is MusicDude14Z, and I am here with a Redstone invention. I haven't actually done one of these on YouTube before. Right now in my Redstone test world. I have a lot of cool things. Sorry for the lag, my FPS is low because of the recording software and stuff. Plus it's a lot of Redstone. But that's a day-night sensor that controls this light thingy. I'll put the day-night sensor video that I took that from in the description. That was pretty cool. I did not invent that. Don't worry, I'm not that brilliant. So let me just keep it daytime, because I like daytime. This is a pointless lever, controls light on the floor. So yeah, I just have some kind of like pointless thing sitting around here. But I also have this really cool thing that I designed, passcode lock. It's not hooked up to a tremendously awesome door. It's a basic piston door, but you know, it's the lock that I'm more concerned about here. It's not the I guess best lock out there. I've seen one that's programmable with levers for 4 digits, but to change the amount of digits you have to build an entire new wing, and it probably adds a whole lot of delay. You have to wait 5 seconds between button presses, so God knows what happens if you don't wait 5 seconds. You might screw up the whole circuit and, you know, burn out torches and stuff. Here you don't have to wait between button presses, and you can expand it. I'll show you guys that. But you do have to build redstone, but it's kind of just a repeating pattern. So yeah, here we go. So you would hit 5, 8, 2, 9, and then you have to hit the open key, and then the door opens. And if you hit any key that's wrong, or the reset button, it resets. So then the door would close. Right? And you do have to hit it in order. For example, if I did this, it won't open. So I did put in a lock for that, or set that, because I'm probably already set by now. Anyway, this is the layout of the keypad: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, just like your keyboard in your computer. No 0 key. I just didn't feel the need for one. And I also added a toggle on the inside of the door, so you can open the door from the inside and close it. So open, and then that'll close it. Takes a little bit of time the first time. I don't know why it's such a big delay. Probably the relay. And so yeah. And then if you wanted to edit the passcode, you'd have to edit the circuitry. So from this room that you have, you could make a doorway out to the circuitry, and it's the only way to get in there. So you built it out of bedrock or something. Anyway, let's just close that. I mean, you can also close it from the reset button, as you saw before. I'll just show you guys that. So I didn't really need to hit the button from outside the door. That was a little pointless. See, that'll also close it. Alright, so let's show you guys the circuitry. Not really going to do a tutorial or anything, just kind of explain it, because it is really complicated. That has nothing to do with this. Alright, so it's a big mess. I mean, really it is. It's not terribly big, it's just quite a mess. It's really cluttered. I really should have done this with some kind of colored wool. Again, this is not part of the circuitry, and nor is that. This is just a fancy lighting design my brother came up with. Again, aesthetic purposes, I don't think I said that yet, but those were his idea. The redstone was me. Okay, so this is your keypad with the reset and the enter key, which is just a series of NOT gates all hooked up to different redstone. Every single output except for the reset goes into its own individual RS NOR latch. You got one here, and you got one somewhere over here. I mean, they're all over the place. You can kind of just see the torches sitting around. It's so hard to point them out. Anyway, because this is a complete mess, and if you ever had to edit anything, you would not touch this section. Trust me, you don't want to. I labeled over here where the outputs finally come from, and these are all derived from the RS NOR latches, so you don't really need to worry about what these are. Just know this is where 3 comes from, 9 comes from, 6 comes from, 5, 8, 2, 4, 7, 1. This is the open button, so you don't need to mess with that. And that's it. This is the toggle button, so I'll show you guys that later. So basically, you would wire this. And you take the buttons that aren't part of your code. So if you wanted to make it 9 digits, you wouldn't have any buttons doing this. But if you had like a 6-digit passcode or a 2-digit passcode or whatever, the buttons that aren't part of your code at any time are wired directly onto this bridge somehow. You just wire them up here, and they go back over here, which triggers the reset. So you don't need to touch any of that. You just need to wire them to this thing right here. I have a bridge here that you could wire to in the middle too. Just make sure nothing's cut off by the repeater, and that because the repeaters only face one direction, so I mean, you can't put an input. Never mind, it's got a little complicated, but yeah. So that's that. So down here, all the numbers that are part of the password, like 9 is the last digit. See 9. So I have it going under all the way over here because this is the first digit all the way over. So you want them to come forward to here. So the first digit is very simple. First key I have labeled 5. Just for my reference, that will change if you want to change the password. And that has that just goes straight into an AND gate, part of a giant AND gate you can see here that controls this. No RS, no latch or anything. The only other thing it does, it goes right into this. This is just so that it doesn't combine with this redstone, this block, but it powers this block. So once this gets powered, it powers that block. We'll talk about that in a sec. The second key, as shown over here, which is 8, which is then labeled again right here, second key, goes into another RS no latch, goes into a second RS no latch, which does a couple things. The second is activated. It sends a signal below ground that powers this NOT gate, so that this red cone goes off and that goes on, which powers, some reason fly is being buggy, alright, powers this block right here. Just like we were powering this block from this signal, there's less room to do it this way, so I did it underground here to keep it compact, alright? So then, the other redstone that comes through when the RS no latch is powered comes through here and powers this, so this torch goes off, which would then let this torch go on and 1, send a reset signal. Yes, sends a reset signal out, and 2 powers this 2-second delay, which you really don't need the delay, but I put it there for safety precautions. Jesus, bridge is annoying. All right, which then turns off the latch by power, because when an RS no latch takes an input and switches, so when this input comes on, the turns on over here and turns off over here, but then this delay would turn it back on. But so why would you want it so that it turns right back off? Well, this controls that. For example, if the 5 key is pressed, then this is always powered. So even when this goes off, this is still powered, and therefore this doesn't go off. So it's kind of like an AND gate, and that ensures that if 5 is powered, the second key, which is 8, doesn't reset. But if 5 isn't powered, the second key does reset itself, and the whole password, because it sends a signal out to the side and up that bridge to reset the 5 and everything else. This precautionary is repeated, because remember how I said it goes down here? That precautionary is repeated to this one and to this one. So that's the 3rd and 4th key in the password. And they all do the exact same thing. You can see they're the exact same pattern over and over again. And they all send a signal out, just like 5 does, just a little bit shorter, from the RS no latch that will turn off this torch and therefore off this. And if you can get all 5 lamps to go off, it's an AND gate. This will turn on, and this is the signal out to the door. So that's repeated. The only difference between the last one, which is the open key, and if you built a 5th key, like if you made it a 5-digit password, you would build another one of these right here and send the 5th number into it, and then move this over and put the open key right here. So I mean, it takes a little bit of work to expand, but it's not too hard. You kind of just repeat the pattern. The only thing that's different with the last one from the first one is it doesn't have this little section. See, I don't have a hole right here, and I don't have it going underground right there like I do right here, just because I don't need it to power another AND gate because there's no more over here. That's the last digit. Just like the first one doesn't need an RS nor latch because it doesn't need to reset itself, because there's not a digit before it that it needs to worry about. So that's pretty much how the lock worries about order, which is very important. Anyway, so then when this powers in, it sends a signal here to the relay, which we'll talk about in a sec. But the important part is it sends a signal over here to my door, which this is not the door. This is the toggle switch, because remember, it's on this side of the hallway. So I derive it with this little torch right here and this NOT gate and everything. The NOT gate's all the way down there. So it's a double NOT gate. Anyway, but this goes right into the door. And this is the signal from, so that goes into here, powers those those aren't repeaters. Those are pistons. And then it powers some other pistons. This is basically just a basic 2x2 piston door. Alright, so the toggle switch sends an impulse out here. And this is actually really, really complicated and took me like a good 20 to 30 attempts before I actually got it 100% operational. I kept finding, it kept looking operational, and then I'd do something and it would stop working, and I'm like, darn it, what have I done? But to say it the most basically, you have a switch. If you don't know what a relay is, it's two AND gates powered by an RS NOR latch. Which looks a little complicated because I had to build it like a bridge. But basically, while this torch is on, you have this torch is off, and therefore, when the signal comes into here, because the input goes to this, and then when that turns off, this torch is off, and it goes out here. And then when this torch is powered, this block is powered, and the torch goes off, that torch will shut off, and the power that does this block also powers this block. So this torch will go off too, and therefore when the input is received, it comes out this one. So it's controlled input. So based on, you have two inputs technically. One is the actual input, and one controls which way the input goes, if that makes sense, called a relay. But this relay goes directly into an RS NOR latch, and power from the RS NOR latch is what powers this RS NOR latch, because a relay is two AND gates in an RS NOR latch. So that basically it's a flip-flop. Every time the button is taken in, it switches. So the button becomes more like a lever, but that doesn't have to be held. So it's always a toggle, because I don't want it to be stuck in any position. And this toggle changes, as you can see, based on when this comes through, because that splits and does the same thing. So the toggle still changes even if you open the door the other way instead of with this button. So both the keypad lock and that button are hooked up to the same toggle. And then this is a checking system, an AND gate kind of thing. Basically what was happening is, because this is also hooked up to the reset, so that the button can close the door and reset the password at the same time. Because if it didn't reset the password, someone could get in by just hitting the open key, or the door would stay open technically, because you needed to reset the password. So what was happening is, in addition to resetting the password, if you hit any key from the inside, the reset would work backwards and open the door. So you didn't have to know the password. You could just hit any of those 10 buttons, the reset, the open key, or the 9 buttons, so 11 buttons actually, and the door would just open. And I was like, what is this? And it was because it wasn't checking that the door is already closed before opening it. The door is closed, and the basic, it's so complicated, but it took like 8 safety checks I had to run through here. This took a little bit of time. You don't really have to understand this, though, because you never have to change this if you were to take this. But I mean, you'll see a lot of times there's blocks without redstone that are just simply meant to stop this redstone from connecting with redstone down there. That's all over the place because it's kind of tight. So that's pretty much it. Works really well. As I said, the passcode is changeable, expandable. All you have to do is reorganize the wires coming from here. There's not really much more I can say about this, so that's kind of it. I'm thinking of trying to put this world up for download and putting that link in the description, so you guys can use this on like adventure maps or something, where people can't destroy bricks, where this is actually helpful. So yeah, thank you for watching, and this is Music Dude 14Z. Now it's me, and I'm signing out. Thanks, guys.